Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Mujeres Create. I'm back in Gotham Studio. Look at this beautiful space, newly renovated. We also have high definition cameras. Who knew?
Who knew?
I'm so excited for this episode because I'm joined by two amazing colleagues, amigas, mujeres. These women have been part of my life in our multicultural marketing journey that we've all been on. I'm joined by Maria Teresa Hernandez. She is founder and CEO of Yellow House Collective. Yellow House is a cultural media platform that connects brands to culture. How amazing is that? And she's also been part of the multicultural media ecosystem for more than 20 years, working for major tech and media companies. And now she has taken the leap and has founded her own company, Yellow House Collective. Also joined by Lisa Torres. Lisa recently also took the leap after 30 years working for the biggest and largest and most influential media agencies in the United States and globally too. And most recently has founded the Lit Group. I mean, what better name? And it's after her initials, Lisa Yvette Torres. Lisa is also the head of brands and operations for Yellow House Collective, a powerful partnership between two amazing mujeres. So I'm very, very excited to have this episode and just have a conversation around multicultural marketing, around taking that big leap of faith and creating your own company, and just about everything that's coming up for Yellow House. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. This is the first time I have three guests. Well, three people
together,
recording together. I'm a guest, I guess.
A trio.
A trio.
Rory,
this is live.
I love it already.
Now you understand why.
I love it already. This is the first time, so I'm going to just really flex my muscles here. But I'm so excited to have you. Lisa, I've been your fan for so long. Lisa is definitely someone who stands out in our multicultural media ecosystem as someone who is super inclusive, supportive, loving, super smart and bold. And I just love having you here in this phase of your life where you're, entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur and just like out of the corporate environment, kind of. And then Maria, I met you a few years ago and definitely admire how you bring in women into the fold and how you're just constantly thinking about ways to improve our industry and ways to bring more people in. It's been really beautiful to be your friend over the last few years. And now in this phase of your careers, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, we didn't even think twice, so thank you.
As soon as you said.
I
we were
appreciate
yes, it was a
it.
hard yes, so fast.
I appreciate it. And obviously I know you from the work that we've been doing together, but I want to know you more intimately. Who are you? Where are you from? What you've been doing? How do you feel today? Like everything you want to tell me.
Yeah. Listen, for all y'all know Chi-Town people, we are like, I moved out of Chicago, it'll be 18 years this year. But we are forever Chi-Town.
Yes.
So I am a Chicago girl through and through, Chi-Town proper. I was raised, in a yellow house. I moved to New York City, and it's a quick story. I moved to New York City. I was 27 years old, and I didn't have plans. It's like everything in my life kind of just happened, and I didn't intend to do it, but God always paves the way, and I just walk it. I was Circle of Trust. I mean, obviously we're sharing it with the world, but I think it's important to share these stories. I was 27 and diagnosed with ovarian stage 1 cancer. Oh my God. And it's one of those cancers you don't usually catch in time. And I caught it. I was very blessed. And during recovery, I was in the hospital. And one of my girlfriends, shout out to Belissa, gave me a notebook. And on the 18th page, I wrote, I'm moving to New York City. And I had just bought my condo. It was a condo, Logan Square. I was living the dream. I had an amazing job. And I was like, I'm just going to go for one year. Let me just do 1 year in New York City because I was in advertising and it's where, we dream. I was single. And 3 of my best friends quit their jobs and came with me. So we moved to Astoria, Queens.
That is so cool.
And for 1 year, we were living the dream. And it was during the recession of 2008. So 11 months in, I got laid off. But I stayed, and it was the best thing I ever did because here I am 18 years later. To have Lisa by my side. I mean, this is actually our first, formal interview together, right?
Oh my God, yes.
We've been incubating for a few months, but really it's been almost a year, I feel like, where we've been talking, privately together and ideating. And what's really exciting is to finally be living the dream we've been manifesting for months and months. And so how I feel, I mean, we had lunch before this, and, Lisa's like my therapist / guru / big sister / all the things. And she grounds me, and I go. So it's actually refreshing to say I feel good. I feel happier than I've been in a really long time, excited. And yeah, I think we're just really in a new chapter that we're excited to take together.
Thank you. I did not know that about you. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Thank you. Lisa, tell us more about you.
What do I tell you? First of all, I want to thank you for your kind words, and thank you for your kind words, and you too. But I'm just a girl from the Lower East Side, city girl my entire life, never lived anywhere else. So for those people that are like, I lived in Chicago and I went to New York, I went nowhere. I stayed here.
New York or nowhere?
New York for life. So, and in that aspect, I think it's, different from like most people's experiences in terms of like, I stayed put, but I stayed put for reasons. I mean, I stayed put because my family was here. I stayed put because the opportunities were here. I stayed put because I met my husband here. Like I had my kid here. Like all of those things sort of made it so that it's convenient for me to stay. So, in that aspect, the lit part is true. I go joke all the time that my initials are lit, and I've been lit my whole life. And if you ever gone out with me, you know that's true. And it's just literally I also had cancer. I had stage 2. I had a year of treatment, chemo, everything, lost the hair. Wow. This is all brand new hair.
Beautiful, luscious hair.
Luscious, won't dye it, I don't touch it. It is, graced by God, and it will stay, and that is how it's going to be. But I think when you are diagnosed with something like that, I think you hit it on the head. And like in your page 18, you said you're going to move to New York. I think for me, it was like, if I died today, was this the life that I wanted to live? And I think that moved my trajectory into something different. I think you call it a midlife crisis. It's a midlife crisis. It's a health crisis. It's just an awareness,
an urgency.
Crisis.
Yeah.
That way you figure out that you're like, your mortality, and then what does your mortality mean? Like at the end of the day, what is I always joke with people, I'm like, my tombstone will never say I was a good employee, and it's true. But you think about like, what is the story that people are going to say about you when you're gone? And for those who remember, because not everybody will, I hope that I leave the world a better place. I hope there are stories that people say that I impacted their career. I might have changed the trajectory of their life. I might have made them move to a market where they met their loved one. That maybe their family might not exist if I didn't put them together in a couple of places. And I don't know if I would have ever been able to do that in an environment that was not as, in where I created my own inclusivity and I drove inclusivity, right? So like, if I was just a regular, everyday planner type person that was just doing the regular general work, I don't know if the impact would have been, or I don't know if I would have been able to do all the things that I did, because I really made the decision to be around, to drive difference in what people see on the screen.
Absolutely.
And that really became my purpose in life, and I never looked back. Yeah. And it has served me well. So I can't say that it's like wasn't even worth it. So long way to say that is where I ended up. So through and through New Yorker, you could tell by my accent. Whenever I leave New York, everybody tells me I speak at a mile a minute. I walk at a different pace. I have no patience in a coffee shop. Like, it's all of the things. I have all the typical New York things. I have them all.
Yeah, and our cultural backgrounds, Dominicana, Puerto Riqueña, Mexicana.
Yeah.
I love this like combination.
Yeah.
And
that's a song. Just saying.
Dominicana. And thank you for sharing your journey through cancer, because I definitely, when it comes to health, that is one of the things that wakes us up. For me, it was my hysterectomy, and I found myself not being fulfilled doing what I was doing, and that I took that as an opportunity to, it's a time to pivot. This is going to happen. And like you said, like, what am I doing with my one life? You have to kind of make it purposeful and what does that mean for you? So thank you for sharing that.
Oh no, thank
And
you.
and you know, one of the things, and I know you don't like fandom, but one of the things I admire about you, especially as we pivot into the multicultural marketing conversation, our industry has been through so much. And oftentimes we've been silenced many times, right? Or we haven't been recognized or validated. But one thing I love about you is the fact that you always tell the truth.
Yeah.
On stage, in a meeting, anywhere you are, Lisa will tell the truth. And I sit there and I'm like, yeah, Lisa, you tell them.
She can't hold back. That's
She
what I
does
love
not
about
hold
her.
back, and I love that.
I don't sugarcoat things. I think it's a background thing of like my parents. My grandmother never sugarcoated anything, and so I never do either. I also think that I don't think people want bullshit. You know what I mean? I think people want the truth. Like if it's a no, just say the no. You know, like if you're not gonna buy them, just tell them you're not gonna buy them.
Exactly.
Like it's like that type of thing. Or if you're not, if you are not hitting whatever it is, whatever the KPI is, just tell them. And I think there's so much fluff and like
so much
in this industry and so much trying to like get one over on stuff. And I just think in that aspect, it was never really my style. So I just couldn't do it. And I will tell you, didn't always work, but I kind of didn't care. And part of the not caring is I think I knew my worth and I knew my value. And so I knew nobody, especially since I entered into the marketplace pretty early, right? So I knew nobody, you might be able to outwit me in other places, but there was no way anybody knew more than me in this space. I was like, nobody can outsmart me in this area. And I took that and I ran with it. Like I was like, I'm going to be an expert in this space. No one's going to be able to beat me in this space. And when I speak, people are going to have to pay attention because nobody knows it more than me. So that's literally how I built my whole career. Like it was like that aspect of understanding that value. And in that value, I also knew that I live the market that I represent. Exactly. And I live the cultures that I represent because I think my upbringing actually is, I think also made me super successful. I lived in Lower East Side. It's the most diverse area of the city. I had all types of friends. Like I knew everybody. Like we would buy from, the Asian markets the same way we would buy, we would buy from the black market. Like it was just anything and everything you could find in New York. And I think that helped me. I was very observant of how people, what they listened to, how they, what they did in their houses, like how they served the meal versus how I served the meal, like that type of stuff. And I think that also helped me because that level of observation, nobody was really capitalizing on it or understanding that that's why you're not selling products.
Exactly.
So I think that is for me, and I also was very much about like, I mean, I can work in it. I built a career in corporate America, but I could go work at McDonald's too. Like, like I lived, my household was all blue collar all the way. So no one in my household made anywhere near the money I make or made. No one owned a house. No one had we had cars, but we had like hoopties, you know what I mean? So it's like, so like anything, I would laugh sometimes because it was, they would offer me these salaries and be like, like as if it was insulting. I was like, oh my God, let me show this letter to my grandma. And she sees how much I make. She's going to fall over.
I love it.
My grandmother was like, let's go to Kmart. So like,
oh my God, Kmart.
She was like, let's go to Kmart, Puerto Rico. She would be, my favorite thing was taking her shopping because I would buy her whatever she wanted. But her favorite place was Kmart and Denny's.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Church's Chicken when we are, but...
What I want to say is that also, I think, and I could speak on behalf of us and so many others, like for me, growing up in this industry, there weren't a lot of women that look like us, that, I could look up to and doing this for 24 years now. And I remember, it was mainly the Black community, right? Black women and men that were championing and leading, and really showing me that representation and taking chances on me. And women in general, but specifically Black women, right? Yeah. And that was powerful. And when I moved to New York City and now started moving in circles where peripherally I knew of Lisa, right? Lisa was somebody that for the first time talk like me, look like me, because, you think you have to live in boxes.
Right.
You have to shape yourself and mold yourself to, code switch, right? You're showing up and you're, you're being extra, enunciating and making sure you represent what unfortunately is the only representation you have, right? And of course, Black women, but few, right? So I remember meeting Lisa and being like, yo, like she shows up authentically, like legit,
and it's okay to do that,
what
right?
she's saying, like has a presence and has the respect and commands it, but still, respects the culture that she comes from and brings it to work every day. And so, it's interesting how even now, you say you don't like the fandom and that's just who you are, but you have so many people that just look up to you because you paved the way. I mean, the joke is, I've heard so many people say, "In Lisa we trust," right? Because because of your realness and keeping it real.
I had not heard that one.
I love that
one. Taking chances, keeping it real, even at your own detriment, made people feel safe, right? So
first of all, I need that in a T-shirt.
Yes,
for sure.
that's
We're putting that in a T-shirt.
LIT group. And Lisa we trust.
And Lisa we trust. There is so much advice out there on how you should act, be in corporate America, and some of it did not exist when I was in the beginning, because I was the only one, and sometimes the only woman in the room, definitely the only Latina, sometimes the only person of color. Like sometimes they weren't even like Black folks in my room sometimes. And it's sad that it's almost becoming that again, but we can talk that's a whole other
that's
podcast.
Another episode.
That's a whole other podcast.
That's a part 2.
But I think that what you get and there's so much conflicting advice, and I think sometimes you need to sort of bet on yourself. And this is also the second this third stage of my life where I'm betting on myself. It's been a consistent thing in my life. I walked into into a corporate America where it was like the pink Chanel. I actually I did a TED, like not a TED talk, but like a kind of like a TED talk where I was like, I had the picture of the pink Chanel suit that everybody had.
Oh my God.
And because, they all were trust fund babies and I was not. I needed to pay rent. That's why I took the job. And I tried to find like the cheap version of the suit. And then, but people knew it was the cheap version of the suit. And then at some point it clicked for me that I cannot win the Chanel suit game, but I can win my own game.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so I think that it was like when I was like joining them, trying to be like them I will never be that. And I will always be the outsider. Yeah. So then I just created my own club. Yeah. And I was like, I'm just going to be me. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to dress how I dress. And I'm going to talk how I talk. And I'm going to be, and also understand that it doesn't matter how I talk. I know I'm smart. Yeah. I know I'm smart, and I also am street smart. So it's like, I got the double edge, which nobody else does, right? Like, and also like I'm observant to the point of being observant. Like I would notice like they would treat the people in the office like crap, like the receptionist or the person who picks up the garbage. And a lot of times you saw the janitor people come because you work late. Yeah. And I was always the nicest to them. Well, first of all, they look like me too. So I was like, I'm not going to. And I would give them tickets to things, or like, we would get gifts of liquor. I would give all my liquor away, like to the guys. And so, but then I realized, and then I got favors, like, they would like tell me, oh yeah, I heard they were talking about you here, or like, or it would help me out in pitches where I was like, go get in the elevator with the like the people would leave the pitch and I would be like, go get in the elevator with the people who just left. And then they would tell me what they said. Or like I knew all the car service guys. So I would be like, we'll get you a car to your next meeting.
So brilliant.
And the car service guy would tell me what, like literally would be like, here's what they said in the whole thing. Like they hated you, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
or they loved you.
But it's also like you have to like if you can't, you're not gonna win the like that the part. If you're not gonna win one part of the game, then win the other part of the game. Whether it's like being the connectivity part and networking part, whether it's like the knowledge part, like you just have to figure out where your road is and where it is that you actually can win and win there. Yeah, it'll get you noticed. And also understand where you win that makes money.
Absolutely.
For the company.
And I think that's the beautiful part about recognizing who you are, truly, what your gifts are, and what it's uniquely you. Exactly. So that, and then you bring that to the entrepreneurial ventures that you have, and then you can win in that space too, because nobody else can do it like you. And I love that authenticity.
And now the entrepreneur part is my favorite part, I will say. It's hard for me to say it's my favorite part because sometimes I'm like, oh Jesus, where's this check coming? But I think it's my favorite part in that I choose who I partner with, and I choose the projects that I work on, and I choose the rate that I
love that.
charge, and you know this and you know this because we all worked in the same industry.
Mm-hmm.
If you look back at your career, you have made a lot of money for a lot of other people, and you in exchange for a paycheck. Now I want to make money for me and my people. Absolutely. And I get to choose who my people are. And so like Maria and I, and this partnership didn't happen it didn't happen in months. It did happen in a year. It might have been more than a year because I think we cultivated a relationship first where like I could see pieces of me or pieces that I love in her. And I was like, dude, she's dope. Like, I want to work with her. And and it was like, I want to help her, like, buy her stuff just because I want to help her. But then it became like, then it became an aspiration discussion. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to dream? And I was like, you are wasting your talent. And I am I love that. People that waste their talent.
One of the things I love about Maria too is that you are such a connector and you're so good at nurturing those relationships.
Best in the game.
Tell us how, now that we're pivoting into the, making the big leap and founding Yellow House Collective, it's about like why is that important for women when sometimes we kind of hold back from, creating that network?
Yeah, it's really interesting because so much of this conversation so far is like a culmination of the pieces that brought me to where I'm at today, right? Is living in boxes, again, molding yourself to in systems that were never made for you. And also being in rooms where you were never celebrated, right? It was like you're being squeezed and taken for what you can, give, but never truly valued. And I have had instances in my career where I loved, building, especially pioneering and being a part of the leadership team that really, shaped the way in content, right? Virtual product placement, technology, and innovation. But you hit a wall at a certain point, and, it's like you said, you're making a paycheck and making great money. I will never deny that. But I had to work at that. Yes. Every time I got a check and I hit a certain threshold, I was told by headhunters or people in the industry, you'll never make more than that, Maria. You're lucky and you should be happy at where you're at. And I never listened to them. And guess what? I always made more and more. And when I look back, had I listened to all the times that I was told you hit that ceiling and you should be lucky and grateful for what you have, I'm grateful that whether it's my ancestors or Yosito, I just knew that I was going to still fight for more because the worst thing I could be told was no. But you hit a point and, even with Lisa in my ear, and I say it lovingly with her being kind of that therapist, that guru, that friend, right, that would look at me as I was, all of that money in exchange for not only a title and stability, but also your mental wellness.
Right.
My nervous system was on. And I didn't even realize it until I was in the hospital, thinking I was having a stroke when really after hours and having my husband thinking I was, all these things. And they're like, ma'am, you are having a panic attack. Yeah. And that is not something that I've never had any of that in my history. And that's when I realized I'm burning myself to the ground at the detriment of my family, my children. And the beauty of it was to finally just take control and to have Lisa there witness it slowly, the erosion of even my mental wellness, my safety of just feeling like, what am I doing all of this for, right? Making a lot of money for a lot of people, right? And not being valued. And I think that was the point where I knew who I was. I knew who the F I was, right? Yeah. And Lisa telling me, and also so many amazing friends looking at me and saying it's time. And so the way I did it was so abrupt because I just knew it was time.
I love it.
Nobody was like, wait, what happened?
It wasn't abrupt though, because we were building towards it. The day you pulled the trigger seems abrupt, but we were working towards it. I was ready. I was like, girl, I'm gonna write the letter for you. Like I was like, let's go. But I also but I think I didn't realize that I was doing this at the beginning. And so when I left, I didn't realize that what was happening. I mean, I knew what was happening because I exited. In case anybody else thinks that I exited out of Publicis. So for the same reason that Maria, I was burning out, I was, done in that aspect. I knew that there were bigger things for me, and there were things that I could not do in a holding company. Absolutely. And that's really why I did it. But now I realize my leap was, because I was early, and it was last year, so it was before all the layoffs, before the thing, and I was like, I don't know how many people have called me to be like, how are you doing it? Help me do it.
Yeah.
Like, what do I need to do?
It's a big question.
Like, right. Like,
yeah.
and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that my leap a year ago is the beginning of other people trying to do the same thing or having the courage to do the same thing.
Right.
So then when I did it, and then and I was still, obviously I still go to the conferences, everybody, I still show up because I'm still working in the industry. I'm just in a different way. And, I would, and Maria and I were talking, I'm like, Maria, let's go.
Yeah.
And I was like, you can do it. I was like, go do the math. I was like,
go
do the math.
Let me ask you this. You know, for me, leaving corporate
Mm-hmm.
was very painful. It was a decision that I delayed for many years. Yeah. You know, I'm an immigrant. I was born in Dominican Republic. I'm the first one in my family to have these corporate roles. So it was truly
an identity, right? Crisis.
Like an identity crisis. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? So it took me a long time. Was it like that for you too? For both of you?
Well, I would say this. So it was really interesting because we had been talking and ideating, and she'd been really preparing me for what I knew was the leap. And I also had even clients looking at me and saying, girlfriend, like, it's time, right? And I knew I was going to be okay. And I had built systems and frameworks and had been successful. And like we said, made money for so many people. And so I knew that I could take this and create something that could be so much bigger, right? But I was also blessed that, when I left and I resigned, there was an opportunity with a major artist and a major brand. And so literally I resigned on January 2nd, and it was a Friday. And that Monday and Tuesday, I was at the headquarters of that brand to pitch an idea with a client who had believed in me. God is so good. We went into that room, we pitched our hearts out. And so literally in a week, I had my first campaign that was bought in, which has been
crazy. Yeah.
But then what happened was I didn't let my nervous system rest, right? Because I resigned after like a lot of craziness and chaos of last year that I had gone through. And then now managing this major campaign. And so I say to Lisa, and Lisa was like, again, there with me throughout it all as we're trying to make sure that everything is executed flawlessly of the company that was just being stood up. But I say that January, that first year, was like, I jumped out of an airplane skydiving.
Yeah, you're literally a leap. Like that's
so like I literally resigned. Like I'm at creating my LLC in real time. I mean, literally and figuratively walking into the headquarters as my LLC is still like wet from the ink that just dried. And I remember feeling like all of January, I was just free falling. It's like, I've went skydiving once, and I remember feeling like you get up there, and then you're like, oh my God, what did I just do? I'm about to kill myself, right? Because suddenly you jump,
free falling
and
is
the free
so
falling,
scary.
and you're like, but is my parachute going to open? Am I going to die? Is this reckless? That is the way my first month felt, because your identity, you're in a crisis because you have lived for 24 years being taught this very toxic, story to yourself that your identity is tied to a title, is tied to a paycheck, a salary, and also tied to middle-aged white men who are running the business and who are supposed to feel safe for you. And you get to a point that you no longer felt safe. And here I am needing to trust myself. But wait, is my parachute going to open? And I remember it was lonely. And even though I had my family, my dearest friends there with me saying, you are going to be okay, I was going through an identity crisis all of January of like, and it felt very alone. But then February hit, and it was like this moment of awakening. It's like your parachute opens. And you're like, wait a second, the view from up here is actually really nice.
The peaceful
and you're like,
fall.
And, and I think because the campaign was finally like officially live and things were falling into place and things were going viral. And I'm like, wait, we did that. Like, what just happened, And now here we are. And Lisa has to remind me to give ourselves grace because I'm like, we've done a lot in a matter of a few months quietly. Because I think that one video I posted on LinkedIn is the only little thing that we really released about what we're building.
The teaser,
It was absolutely the teaser. Yeah. I think the big lesson too is get the yin to your yang. Like she'll jump out of the plane. I will not jump out of the plane. I will make sure that
all the waiting downstairs.
I will wait. I'll double check, make sure the parachute is there. Please make sure it's on, it's tight.
She'll be cheering me on.
Get on and I'll be like, yeah, you did it. And then I'll be like, so, and we're leaving. I don't do that. But I think that, but it's also the funny, but we joke about this all the time of like, we're bookends. Like I was like, Maria is like the elegant side of me, and I am the rough and tumble side. Like, I was
lies,
like,
lies.
Maria's always well put together. I'm wearing the jogging suit, like, and the sneakers. We will never see me in heels ever. So it's like those type of things of just of that our personalities mesh that way. Like she excites me, so she gets my juices going. I calm her down. So like it's like that type of thing. But I think and everyone, and I wanted people to understand that are listening to your podcast that everybody's experience is different. So like. You had a very unique experience where we were all telling you that you needed to go. I was on the other end of like, nobody saw it coming.
No one
saw it coming. And no one realized that I actually had been planning it. Yeah. So the other t-shirt that I actually should get is that I'm right.
Yes.
That's the other t-shirt I should get. And my team who used to work for me will tell you that they wanted to print the t-shirt that said, she was right. I literally, when the election circuit started and he was the nominee and Project 2025 came out and all of those things and all the things. But here's the thing. That is the point where I kind of started to plot my exit out of Publicis. And the reason why was because I kind of saw that if he won, things were going to drastically change. And either my job was not going to be valued, which actually I could have stayed because Publicis actually was very different in that aspect, or I was going to be muzzled. Yeah. Okay, so if you got a little bit of my personality in this podcast, you would know muzzling doesn't work for me. So I don't like being scripted. And so there was going to be, and I had very strong opinions of what was going to happen in corporate America. I saw this coming a mile away. So I literally started working out my exit. And why? And I say that because you can prosper where you're planted and still plan for your exit if that's what you want to do. Absolutely. You should not wait for the invisible shoe to drop, because it will, at some point or other, you will lose your job. You will have a boss you don't like. You will be moved into a department that doesn't suit you. You will, you have a front row and suddenly you're in the back row. Like all of these things can happen. And what you need to do is have preparation so that you can plan what you want to do. Absolutely. And I understand that people and I also, and Maria and I had a discussion about this when this was happening. I was like, look, I can give you the advice that I can give you, but I also coming from a very different place that you're coming from, and from most women are coming. I am older. I have an adult child. I don't need to support a kid anymore. I don't have tuition payments anymore. I have 3 dogs that I have to take care of, and that's it. I could live on peanut butter and jelly if I had to. You know what I mean? Like I don't have the same level of, my house is paid off, my car is paid off. Like I don't have the same level of responsibility that other people have in their household. So you got to do what's good for you.
Right. You have to understand your
understand
situation.
the trade-offs that you're giving, that you're getting from that paycheck, and then but also plot for if something happens. And the plotting could be very easy, like a second source of income, a side hustle that you're sort of building that can launch the minute you leave a job. Getting your connection straight. I can't even tell you how important that is. Of like your list of people is the most valuable thing you own. Make sure you nurture it. Make sure you have it. Like that's the thing you take first. Like, when they if there's a fire and they're like, that's the list you grab.
Take the list.
Like, you make sure that that's the list that sits in a hard drive somewhere. Yeah. And if they shut your computer off tomorrow, you don't lose anything. Absolutely. Like, those are the things you have to do to protect yourself so that you can move into the next stage and in an easier way than you walked in. And then you have to, this is the part she has not done, is you need to rest. And this is to you, and I know you're saying this, you're the same thing. Yeah. I can't tell you how many hours I slept after the first day of the last day that I literally left on the 28th of February. So the first day home was March 1st. So literally it's a year and a couple of weeks. And it's the longest I've slept in forever. And I know because my watch told me so. So you know what I'm saying? I had a breath, and it's the first time my calendar was empty. It had nothing on it. And it's just like the detox that you sort of have to go through, which you're sort of going through now, of you don't have to check your emails the minute you wake up. you could actually go to the gym at 9 o'clock in the morning.
You're the
and
CEO.
start your day at 11.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's those things, but you're so programmed because you've lived that life for so long that it's hard to deprogram that.
Yeah, these really toxic habits that you're just used to that I'm
Mhm.
trying to break. And that's where it's important, even when we speak about having, I mean, not everybody has somebody that, you know, I took a leap of faith, but being able to fall into and having people catch me and building Yellow House Collective with a group of people that are amazing, incredible. I mean, what did you say? We're like the Avengers.
We are the Avengers.
I love it. And you know, before we go into Yellow
Yeah.
House, I see this time and time again. When I left corporate, I was really burnt out from, you know, years of chasing titles. I wasn't never really chasing, but things happen and you get into these roles and you just keep going and you keep going.
Yeah.
So I was really burnt out. So the last 2 years have been fully rest for me. It's been an extended rest. But what I see time and time again is that women, even when they're in the positions of leadership, they're afraid to kind of offload some responsibility to their team and you know, manage the workload. They want to take it on because they think that that's what they need to do. Right. So definitely listen to Lisa. Lisa knows best.
Listen to Jacinia. Can I just say, like, that is so important because I think the word that came from me, because you were like extended rest. I'm like, no, you were active. You were actively resting, which is, people think rest and people think I'm just sitting around, like sitting in my room, like eating popcorn or like bonbons and like watching trashy TV. I do that sometimes. But like, I'm the healthiest I've ever been.
Yeah, I love that.
I've lost a tremendous amount of weight.
I
am not. I'm
You're
aging,
glowing.
I'm
look
aging
at your
backwards.
hair.
I'm
look
aging
at
backwards.
Your hair.
I'm like Benjamin Button. Like
I love that.
But like the skincare is on point. Like the body care is on point. And it's all the things. Yeah. Again, these are the things that I exchanged for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And now I'm not willing to exchange them anymore. And so now I feel so much better in my life. But it's not like, you know, like we're not lazy. It's also a very different mindset. I think we suffer from this too as Latinas of like, I don't even know how to explain to anybody in my family what I'm actually doing. So I choose not to. I just choose not to say. They're like, "How's the job? Job is great."
I know.
And I was like, first, and you come into the realization of like, I don't need to explain to anybody what I'm doing because it's my life and nobody pays my bills. And I pay my bills and my bills are. As long as I'm not asking you for money, you have no business in my business. But I think the other thing of like, I don't need to explain to anybody. So when they ask me how my job is great. Do they know that I like my job, that I have my own company? No. It's fine. Yeah. Because they have lived a life that doesn't understand this dynamic. And they've trained us to then doubt ourselves because they're like, oh my God, you don't have a job? Like, what do you know, and like, how is that working? Blah, 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 you know.
I think that's a big thing too, as we think about like women or just anybody taking a bet on yourself and taking a leap of faith. There's so many naysayers of people that are just not normally risk takers. And so the idea of, you know, somebody that resigns, you know, a corporate job without, you know, I didn't have a severance, anything. It was like, oh shit, sorry, I don't know if I could swear, but there's no more checks coming in, right? And so the peanut gallery is going to be loud, you know. So as much as I had a lot of support, but I think we were saying this the other day where it was like there were so many, it was mostly women, loudly, women clapping and cheering and saying, we support you. I was overwhelmed, in fact, by how beautiful our Latina community and even the Black community and Asian community embraced, you know, both Lisa and I during this transition. What's interesting, and no knock to men, I love men, but how the men were more skeptical or had more of a, I don't know how you're doing that. Are you sure you want to do it? You know, I had a person say to me, I don't wish entrepreneurship on anybody. You know, and those are really encouraging words. And what I had to realize is that, you know what? How I build this ship, I don't need to mold it. Right. Because listen, we're trying to fix a problem. We sell, you know, that was the one thing when we were ideating is like, I didn't want to just have a vanity project. I'm not just trying to build a business because for the sake of building a business. What are we trying to solve? We were intentional in saying if we're going to do something and build something, it has to be something that's solving a problem. And also leaning into what we believe in when it comes to multicultural, growth audiences, diverse, whatever we want to call it these days, right? But leaning into the culture that has been good to us, raised us, and that's what we want to pour into and drown out the noise and shut it down.
And I think, I know Maria will never give herself enough credit, but you gave her credit, which I appreciate, which is she is such a connector. So it makes 100% sense when you look at how she is building Yellow House Collective, in that she has picked very strategically the people to fill the gaps. So the one thing we said was, what is the problem we're trying to solve? Okay, what is the talent that we need to do that? Oh, so you need this person, you need this person, you need this person. And she's like, I got that person, I got that person. Because she's the ultimate, because she has her list.
Yes.
And she was like, oh, this person does this person does that, this person does this, and then bring them all together. And then suddenly you have this powerhouse, which is what I'm so excited about with Yellow House and what it's offering, is that everybody offers their niche. No one ever offers the totality to be able to fulfill the niche. So no one ever looks at, like, people just do content, but they never look at the business side of the content, or like, how do you sell the content? Like, somebody else thinks about that. We actually think about the full end-to-end part, positioning, or the full end-to-end deliverable that a client is looking for, and deliver that in a very easy way. So, like, that's the problem we're trying to solve, is clients are tired of talking to 5 people. Yellow House, you only have to talk to Maria. And Maria will find everybody else for you, or will, like, grab Avengers, grab the Avengers that need to fight the battle, and deliver a product that actually delivers on the KPIs with full measurement. And I think that is what makes us different.
Maria, so this is a perfect segue to how you build Yellow House. I want to know the story behind it. I know the story, but I know people would love and appreciate knowing more about why you chose the name, obviously rooted in your background. But that idea, where did it come from, and how are you building, and what are those pillars that Lisa pointed to, and how can more brands work with you?
Sure. So, as we experienced, as you said, with the new administration, so many changes, so much of the work that we had finally built for so many years, just see it become dismantled, and so many, players in the space walk back, right? And for me, it was so important that if I no longer was invited to the tables that for a little while I suddenly was a part of, we were going to build our own table, and we were going to be true to the culture and to what we know wasn't a passion project. Multicultural and investing in diverse audiences really is rooted in ROI, right? We know it makes sense. And the fact that we have to keep repeating that was wild. And so for me, with all that being said, growing up in Chicago, raised by a single mom, there were times that she struggled. She was trying to get her degree. She had 4 kids. It was a scrappy upbringing. And when she needed a break, she would take me to my grandmother's house, who often 50-50 raised me. And my grandmother lived in a yellow house. And when I got to Abuelita's house, Abuelita Anita, it was a safe space. It was a place that poured love and thoughtfulness and safety and comfort, and listened. She actually wanted to listen to me, And so when we were thinking about, whether I was going to go independent, I knew that I wanted to pay homage to that childhood and that safe space, and that whatever I built, it would be a home of protection, of safety, of intentionality, of authenticity, of everything that was represented in my grandmother's house. And that's what Yellow House is. Yellow House is a place for creators, for the multicultural community, publishers, directors, producers, labels. It's an ecosystem of culture. And so we are the bridge into that, right? And I've lived that for many years, and what I've built in past lives within the innovation and virtual product placement space. So it's a continuation of that, but it's not limited to just virtual product placement, right? So the idea is that brands can come to Yellow House and access a real-time ecosystem of in content at scale, in real life at scale, in talent integrations, and in studio with our own IP. So the idea of this through line of integration into culture, seamlessly done within a system that feels not so fragmented and disjointed, but very easy and scalable and bought as media and measurable in a way that feels, safe. And so that's what's exciting, is that the access that we've built over the collective, right? The collective of us, or 6 of us, that we've built over years of expertise, of proven success, of authority and trust to be able to bring that. And so what I didn't expect is that once and that's one thing Lisa and I both have, as well as the rest of the collective, is access to brands who trust us and that we've proven, which is telling in the campaign that I'm running right now that was immediate within days after I went live, is that we hadn't even built a website yet and we were already getting so many RFPs. Yeah. And so it's exciting because we knew that there's a disjointed and fragmented marketplace when it comes to culture. And I proudly say the word culture. I know we've sat on this about the word culture and how, people are afraid to use it and people are afraid because it's just been desensitized. And it's like, no, we are culture and this is culture. And there is a way that we need to still empower the brands to continue to invest in culture in a way that's not just a moment, but a movement. And that is really what we are building and have built at Yellow House Collective.
And I thank you for walking us through that. And I think right now is such a special moment to create a company such as Yellow House, because while multiculturalism is kind of being attacked again and DE&I, we've never been bolder as a community and louder and more authentic. You see artists, Bad Bunny has created a movement with concerts. Now artists are showing up differently, more authentically and just more human, I would say. Like we see it all over the place, right? So I think being that bold to create a company that is really rooted in culture and culture forward and really kind of tapping into things that, you were saying it earlier, that we were shamed for many years ago, right? In multicultural marketing, when you were kind of starting in the industry, when I was starting in the industry, we couldn't really be ourselves. I mean, some of us kind of like decided, I'm going to be myself no matter what. For a lot of us, it took time to really embrace who we were. But here we are now, being attacked in so many ways, being silenced in so many ways, but also being louder than we've ever been and more genuine and authentic and proud of our heritage. So I love what you guys stand for and what you're building. And I know that it's going to be, you're going to create more movements, like a huge movement.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and we're built for all cultures because we are not going to, we will win as a collective. Yes. We will not win as individuals. So it's built for all cultures.
That. Can you say that again?
No.
We will win as a collective.
We will win as a collective.
I love that. And it's so true because I think communities of color are being pinned against each other, being attacked. And so unifying as a collective, I think, will go further. I love that message.
We have to bring back community and we have to bring back the collectivism of our, because, everybody talks about like the percentage of, households that are diverse. And I'm like, right, if you count all the households. So if you just count one segment of the household, it's smaller. But if you put them all together, then it becomes much bigger. And I think, and especially with this administration, we now share more anxiety than we've ever been before. So like it might manifest itself in different ways, but at the end of the day, we're all under attack. And so like, if we don't unify, then we're not going to win.
And how beautiful is it to see those collaborations, like Black artists, Latino artists, Asian artists coming together and creating amazing content, amazing music. Absolutely. It's just better when we come together as a collective.
It is. And I think if we need to recognize that we have more similarities or more shared experiences than we realize with all different type of cultures. I think one of the things, I'll tell you the story of one of the first meetings of Yellow House Collective, where the 6 of us got together. By the way, none of us knew each other at all. So Maria and I everybody knew Maria, but we didn't know each other. And the first thing we said, the first exercise that we did as a team was to tell our background, like how did we grow up, like why are we doing what we're doing, what's meaningful for us. And I think every person that shared, we ended up like, oh, I was from a single mom household, or like, oh, I grew up in an urban environment, or there were so many things that we had in common with each other, and 5 people who didn't know each other. Yeah. And literally at the end, we walked out friends. Like it was like then suddenly we were like bonded and like some might say we trauma bonded, but it doesn't matter. But I think if you don't talk to each other, you don't realize that there's a lot more that we have shared. It might not be the same experience, but it's the feeling is the same. The imposter syndrome, the feeling of inferiority, the feeling that you're not good enough, the feeling that you got to try to like code switch. That is unified in all cultures. All of us feel that. Anybody that's non-white totally feels that. And I think that was that. Then after that, I was sold. I was like, whoa, sorry, whether you want me as a partner or not.
And also, we had a shared vision, right? We all brought strengths to the table. And I think, in the work I did in my past life at Myriad with the virtual multicultural marketplace, and I had the privilege of being able to bridge this technology into and be an extension of so many diverse publishers from Black, Brown, Asian. And that's something that, anytime I was with the Black community, I was trying to bring the Latino community and, and create those bridges, because oftentimes we do live in silos, right? And for me with Yellow House, I was very intentional of saying, we are going to still represent, so when I've been asked, well, what segment do you deliver on? All of it, right? Multicultural as a whole. And I think it's represented and reflected in our leadership, because you have Black, Latino, Afro-Latino, South Asian, Mexican, Puerto Rican, right? And so for us, when we thought about, as you have different pillars, as we build the studio side, and that's a really exciting side, and I call it kind of the heartbeat, because it's something that we're all passionate about, of entering into the, the content space and starting to build, vertical dramas, right? And so we did our first writer's room, and we were really intentional of those first 2 pilots that are going to be written with, an Afro-Latino cohort, storytellers that are writing, and then you have the South Asian side. And I say, you heard it here, this is an exclusive, right? K-pop was big, but P-pop is going to be the next, right? And Punjabi
you brought me onto that. I had no idea.
Punjabi influence, and I've had the privilege of working with, our head of innovation, technology, and music. He wears so many hats. Ran and still runs one of the biggest, the number 1 South Asian US-based label. And listen, you put it on mute, and you're thinking you're listening to reggaeton. You're seeing them, they're moving. I mean, the intersectionality of the Asian influence and South Asian influence on reggaeton and R&B and hip hop in our culture has always been there. And so there's stories that still have been underrepresented. The same way Latinos want to see more representation on screen, behind the screen. That is what I'm excited about. So we have the South Asian storytelling, and we're doing, going into production there. We have the Afro-Latinidad, and that's something that's been very, very important to me. And then partnering. And I think what I love the most, and Lisa and I can attest to this, is that in the little time that this has been lived, not only have the brands been leaning in, but the publisher community, right? The publishers that are saying, hey, let's partner, right? Because alliances, and that's why we were very thoughtful in calling this a collective, is that we are not as strong as we can be together, right?
And I love that you're leading in that space, because we do see these magical collaborations on TikTok, like the Indian community and I don't know if you've ever seen the Dominican that look Indian and TikTok. There's these communities exist, but not as a collective, as a place where you're actually thinking about all these different audiences that have so much in common, that are looking for representation and showcasing more of their identity. You're creating that, and I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And the more we watch each other's stories, the more the easier it is to become one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think also the beautiful part of this is being in a room on our Zooms and our team meetings and looking around and seeing that we're all diverse faces. And we're all diverse faces, and we know what we're doing, and we just need to trust ourselves. And that is a powerful moment that I don't take for granted.
I love that. Lisa, as we get into the conversation about Yellow House and what you're building, I wanted you to define multicultural marketing for those listeners that perhaps are not familiar with multicultural marketing. I definitely love talking about it, but I understand that not many people are in this industry with us. So I wanted you to do us a beautiful overview of what multicultural marketing is.
Those who don't know what this actually is multicultural marketing is the identification and the targeting of, for lack of a better description, non-white people. Okay? So for a long time in this, and anybody, I mean, obviously, unless you're living in some place that is, not diverse, which I can get, which I can understand why you don't understand it. But in most places, it is, there are people that are different come from different places.
Yeah.
By the way, this whole country is built that way.
Absolutely.
So like this country was not like, except for Native Americans, everybody else came here somehow, some way.
Yes.
So multicultural marketing from the 80s, probably the 70s, and for the black market even earlier than that, was an ability to reach and target people of different races, colors, and communities. And that would not be reached by regular means or as an add-on to a regular general, like ABC did not reach them as much as, a Jet or an Ebony or Univision, or Sin, because it was Sin before it was Univision.
My God. Sin?
That's how Sin. S-I-N.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a Sin. So for those old school New Yorkers who remember what Sin was, like that's when I dated myself a bit there. But my mom watched it, my grandmother watched it, and then it became Univision. So and then Telemundo came years later. But and actually that's how I ended up in the industry, because I was working in general market, but somebody needed to buy Spanish language media, did not know what they were buying, and was like, aren't you Latina? And I'm like, yeah. And they were like, do you know there's a thing called Univision? And I'm like, Univision, like Channel 41? And they were like, yeah. Like, what should I buy then? I'm like, hold on, let me get you. And then they were like, are there radio stations? And I was like, oh, there's like La Mega. So I ended up in it because I was the only one that knew, and nobody knew the programming. Like, I was like, oh, don't do that novela, do this novela, because I knew them all, because I lived in a household where like we had one TV, we were forced to watch it. This is not like the multi-TV households that we live in now. But that was how people communicated to people that were not what was mainstream market. But it also was at a time where that marketplace was growing. It was growing two ways. It was growing, one, from birth, so like more Black people were having kids, and then the Latino and the Asian community was it was through birth and through immigration. So it was at one point it was like 60-40, like 60% immigration, 40% birth, and then it flipped to like the 60% birth, 40% immigration, and now it's sort of like more births than
there's baby boom, Latino baby boom.
Well, here's the
sure.
thing: the concept of population growth is dependent on you replacing yourself. I don't think people realize that. Like the way the population growth is that every person has to have a replacement. So like every household needs to have two people. Like you have to have two babies, because you got to replace yourself and your partner. Right. So in what's happening now, or the reason we're in the place that we are now, in that the population is, we call it the browning of America, the tanning of America, you could do whatever you want to call it, is because the birth rate in diverse households is way higher than the birth rate in white households. In white households, they are older. That's the silent generation. That's the baby boomers. They're actually in retirement. They're actually winding down. So they're not replacing themselves. So there are the old statistic, and I probably have to look this back up again, but a couple of years ago, the statistic was that 12 people died before one person was born. Oh, my God. When you look at a Hispanic household, there were like 8 people born, or 8 people show up. Whether it was birth or immigration,
we live a long time.
8 people showed up for every one death. In Black households, it was 5. In Asian households, it was like 3 to 5. So like they were more than replacing themselves. This is why this idea of the minority majority showed up. Yeah. So now we're at an impasse of, we are actually technically the majority. If you look at any age group below 50. It's a 60-40 if it's below 16. It's like a 50-50 if you're below 50. Of like the population is half white, half not white. Wow. And in the younger generation is more. Right. And then, obviously the older generation is less. This dynamic is what actually has caused all this. Some of it is the administration, what's happening with the administration and replacement theory, which is dumb. But the other side is you now have a population that is actually the mainstream, not a subset, not a silo, not a bolt-on. Mainstream. That is the transition that is actually happening now, which is why aside from the administration pushing back, why there's so much confusion.
Right.
Because people actually don't understand that the growth is not general, that the growth is actually cultural. And if you are not listening to a culturally fueled general market or new general market, whatever you want to call it, I call it culturally fueled because that is where the influence is coming from. If you don't pay attention to that, you are going to be left behind. And what you're going to be left with is a core consumer that's primarily white that is not actually growing.
Absolutely.
So you're not actually going, and the relationship that because they're younger, because they're digital, because they are now coming into their own from a lifestyle perspective or a life stage perspective, they don't have the same relationship that this core consumer has with your brand. And so you actually have to talk to them differently. You have to have values. You have to actually support them. And if you don't get the money. And if the color that you care about is green, because that is the color everybody cares about, then you need to understand how culture fits into your ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Not as like, I'm just gonna put actors on a stage, or I'm gonna make sure that it's like like the color of Peloton, or like whatever. And we've seen. And what I think frustrates the more is that we've seen it when it's done wrong, and we've seen it when it's done well, and I still keep seeing it being done wrong. But I think we're at some point. This administration has taken us back a few steps, which is sad. Yeah. But data is the data. And so for all the brands that listen to your podcast or people that are working in this system, in our industry, is you are not asking these brands to be brave. That is not their job. Their job is to make money. You are asking them to be accurate.
Exactly.
In where their growth is coming from.
High five to that.
And when you're accurate in the growth, then the money will come.
Definitely. It explains why the work of Yellow House is so important right now, to just have a collective and just different ways to activate around culture and to just bring culture forward. Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, Maria, obviously the bravery that you had in creating Yellow House. What is your advice to women who are like at the cusp of like, I want to do it, but I'm scared. Yeah. What do I do? What is that advice that you have?
Not everybody has a Lisa, with them. But I think it's so important to have the community, lean into your community, reach out to us, right? We welcome that truly. Yeah. Reach out to women that you admire, that don't be afraid to make that call. You have LinkedIn, you have Instagram. Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways to connect. And I think I would have never been able to do it had I not had a community guiding me, holding my hand, because it's hard, right?
Absolutely.
So don't be afraid, but don't compromise your mental wellness and your nervous system. All the bells are ringing and you're being, literally brought to reduced to the least amount of yourself, and you're not happy of who you see, then it's time. Make those calls, lean in, reach out, and we're here. I mean that sincerely.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I was like, you can't call Lisa. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I think to add on to what Maria said, and what I think about how she took the leap, because she. We talked about it like a little, it was drastic, but it's this idea of doing it afraid. Like you just, and I think it's the jumping out the plane was like a good example of that, of like, you just got to do it afraid. I think the other thing that helped me do it too, because I'm, not the plane jumper, so I'm a little bit more practical. So for those ladies that are more practical in the listening audience, is really think about what are you afraid of? What is the worst case scenario? Like mine was, I am going to be homeless. Yeah. No, it was. I mean, it is.
All of us.
I am going to be homeless. I sat there and I'm like, I'm gonna leave my job, and I'm gonna lose everything, and I'm gonna be homeless, and I'm like,
it's not true.
Yeah. Hold on. Pause a second. Lisa, your house is paid off. Technically, you cannot be homeless because you own a house, or there are other jobs out there. Like go work at McDonald's, go work at Home Depot.
Anywhere.
Like my phone rang the minute that I announced it. My phone was ringing. Your phone is ringing,
beautiful.
Lisa. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
Like you literally have to sit there and I laugh sometimes. Now I laugh about it. Of like I truly thought I was gonna be homeless. Like I was like.
I took the leap of faith because Lisa legit was like, but will you be homeless, right? Will you be homeless? And I knew, and that literally was metaphoric for, you'll be okay. And the worst that can happen
Is you go get another job.
It doesn't work and you get another job. But you know what? You took the risk, afraid, fearful. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. But I do know this, that I took the risk. We tried it. We're going to do it. It's working so far. And it feels great.
I love it. So. Ladies, thank you so much for
you.
being part of this podcast. I feel like an hour is not enough time. I would love to have you again and just stay in touch with everything you're doing. I'm such a big fan, and I wish you all the best in this venture. I know a lot of mujeres are going to appreciate the advice, the authenticity. Just like seeing you do it is going to motivate so many others to follow suit and do it too. Do it afraid, plan for it, believe in yourself, leaning to community. Yeah. Thank you for all the gems. I love seeing you.
Homeless.
Yeah, you won't be homeless.
You won't be homeless.
But will you be homeless? No. You can crash on my sofa.
High five, ladies. Thank you so much. Yay!